Remember field trips and first dates? Generations have come to the Exploratorium to learn and play. Now we need your help, and every dollar you donate will be doubled. Sustain the wonder.
Thank you for joining us tonight for After Dark Online Pride. My name is Kayla Walker, and I am a STARS intern at the Exploratorium. The STARS program centers trans and queer people of color, their perspectives and identities, with a goal of transforming the way gender inclusion and racial equality are linked to science learning for our audiences. While tonight's program was recorded remotely, I want to acknowledge that the home of After Dark, the Exploratorium, is located at Pier 15 in San Francisco on unceded territory traditionally belonging to the Ramaytush Ohlone people, and pay my respect to elders past, present, and future for their stewardship of this land. Tonight's After Dark is a celebration of Pride. Throughout June, we have been celebrating Pride at After Dark. I encourage you to check out some of our past week's programs, 500 Queer Scientists and Queering the Future. You can find those on our website or YouTube. In tonight's program, we are featuring LGBTQ artists and singers whose work centers self-affirmation, freedom of expression, and the essential need for representation. We'll use our voice, body, and eyes. Tonight's program is made possible with the generous support of General Motors. Later on, you will hear from Jocquese, Sir Jacques Whitfield, founder of Vogue and Tone and pillar of the Bay Area voguing community. He'll share a little bit about the history of voguing, his personal connection to the form, and give us all a tutorial to participate in at home. To kick things off, we will hear from singer-songwriter and teaching artist Eli Conley. Eli Conley is a singer-songwriter and teaching artist based in Sacramento, California. As a gay transgender man, Eli has a deep commitment to working within diverse LGBTQIA+ communities to build collective power, creativity, and resilience. Eli is a certified teacher of somatic voice work, the Lovetri method, who continues to study deep in his approach to contemporary vocal pedagogy. He performs and tours as an indie folk artist and is a former member of the Grammy Award-winning San Francisco Symphony Chorus. He teaches an extensive amount of workshops and private classes for people all identities ages 13 and up. In the segment, we'll get a taste of his teaching as he shares ways that people, in particular the trans community, can use their voices. And we'll get to listen in as he shares one of his original songs. Here's Eli.
Hi, my name is Eli Conley. I am a singer-songwriter and a teaching artist, and I'm going to talk to you today about queerness and singing. So, our culture is really centered around the voices of white, straight, cisgender men. And even for those of us who share some of those identities, we are told that our voices are not important. They're not worthy of being listened to. And especially if you fall outside of white, straight, cisgender man in many, many different ways, we know our culture is really not built around our voices or our needs. And so we can internalize that. We can take that in literally to our bodies and come to believe that our voices are not important, are not worthy of being centered. And for me, as a singer and as somebody who works with many queer and trans folks on music, I have found that it's a very powerful act to learn to give voice to ourselves individually, as well as in community, to feel our collective power and strength when we use our voices together in song. It really allows us to take up space with our whole bodies, to connect in with that deep source of power that we have, that is this instrument that we actually have with us at all times. The amazing thing about voice is that no matter where you are, if your body is with you, you've got an instrument that you can use. And I'm going to share a little bit about the science behind singing because I think it's really interesting. So when you think of any instrument, there are three main things that make up how it makes sound. So first thing is there is a power source. So when I'm playing the guitar, Power source is my finger that is creating that sound. If we think about a wind instrument, maybe a clarinet, it's the breath that is the power that starts that sound. And when we think about voice, it's also breath. We fill up our lungs with air, and then as we start to speak or sing, the power comes from that breath. So I'm going to do a practice with you now to feel the power that is behind our breath, the power that is behind our voice. We're going to take 3 deep breaths, and the first time we're going to make a SH sound and go as long until you're out of air. So here's the first one. So the second breath, what we're going to do is we're going to pay attention to our inhale. Notice what we feel moving in our body as we breathe, because you know your lungs are right here, surrounded by your rib cage. And as we breathe in, our lungs expand, and often it feels like our belly is expanding as well, even though, you know, we don't have lungs in our belly. But in order for our lungs to fully expand, all our organs, our intestines and everything have to move out of the way. So it feels like maybe you're breathing into your belly. So let's take a deep breath in, and then we'll out again, noticing that sensation on the inhale. Now, the third thing we're going to pay attention to is that exhale. So you've been doing this all along as you out. What's happening in our body as we exhale? Well, for one thing, there's less and less air in our lungs as we go. So our rib cage and our lungs kind of draw back in towards our center. If you really push the air out, so you send every last bit of air that you can out, you might feel your belly muscles engaging. It's almost like we're raising the floor as that rib cage and the lungs are going in. So you can use your belly muscles to help push out that last bit of air. So we're going to try that, paying attention to expansion on the inhale, and then everything gently contracts on the exhale. So here we go. So that's our power source, our breath. The second thing that every instrument has is a source of the sound, a source of vibration. Because when we think about it, all sound is vibration. It's sound waves. No matter what you make in terms of a sound, it hits your eardrum and it's sound waves that we are then interpreting as sound, as whatever we hear it as. So for the guitar, we talked about the finger is the source of the power. What's actually doing the vibrating is the strings. So that's what's creating that vibration. On the clarinet, it's the reed at the mouth that is vibrating. In the voice, it's vocal cords. And so if we zoom in here, the vocal cords, they're about the size of a dime to a quarter, something like that. And they're in this whole structure called our larynx. That's made out of a lot of different cartilages and muscles. One bone called the hyoid bone. It's the only bone that's not connected to any other bone in the body. It's just kind of floating in there. And so if we zoom in on the vocal cords, they're connected in the front. And when I'm hanging out and I'm not vocalizing, I'm just being quiet, they're apart. And the air from my lungs is going through them. But as soon as I start to vocalize, to speak or sing, air comes up and they start to close and vibrate. And this vibration here is the source of the sound. It's what creates the sound of our voice. And the cool thing about this, if you start thinking about music, so when I play an A on the guitar, this particular A is vibrating 220 times a second. That's the frequency. So this string, it's very fast, so we can't see it, but 220 times, might be 220 times a minute. Don't quote me on that, but 220 times. If I were to sing that same pitch, my vocal cords are closing and vibrating. at that same frequency, 220. Same thing with the clarinet. That reed is vibrating 220 times in the same amount of time. So that's why we can all sing the same or make the same pitch on an instrument, and a voice from instrument to instrument is it's the same frequency. So we're literally vibrating in unison if we all sing the same note. Even across the internet, we are vibrating at the same frequency. So the vocal cords that close and vibrate, there's actually a lot of different kinds of things we can do with our vocal cords to make different kinds of sounds. When we're making a low sound, hi, how are you today? It's not where my voice naturally sits, but if I'm making an extra low sound, what happens is, so remember there are these two folds of muscle. Now, if we zoom in even more, the air is coming up from our lungs. They close and vibrate like this in a wave. And they're short and thick. So in this direction, short and thick. When I make a low sound, low, short and thick. If I make a high sound, more like something up here, kind of Minnie Mouse, Mickey Mouse, Julia Child kind of voice. What's happening there is there is a muscle called the cricothyroid muscle, CT for short, that stretches everything, long and thin, front to back, and they close and vibrate like this. So very different behavior. When I'm up here, long, skinny vocal cords on the edge. When I'm down here, short, thick vocal cords. And truthfully, the two muscles that make this happen, the CT muscle that stretches and thins, the thyroarytenoid muscle, or TA muscle, that does that shortening and thickening, they're actually working together all the time because they're similar to our bicep and our tricep, where they're paired muscles. And as I use my voice from top to bottom, they're working in tandem actually for much of that time. So we have these two kind of extreme kinds of sounds, but really mostly where I talk and sing is kind of a blend. It's more 2 or 3 fingers worth of closure here. So that's the source of the vibration. But if we stop there and we just hear the vocal cords on their own, it actually just kind of sounds like a buzzing. It's like if I was playing the clarinet and I didn't have the whole body, I just had the mouthpiece and I went, it just kind of sounds squeaky. So what gives the sound its quality, its richness, is what's called a resonator. And in the case of the guitar, it's the wooden body of the guitar. So when I play this G chord, the vibration is in the strings, but then it goes and it resonates all in the beautiful wood of the guitar, and that's where it gets its quality. The clarinet, it's the body of the clarinet, and if you think about when you play different notes, it also alters things. In the voice, it's what's called the vocal tract, and this is everything from my vocal cords up to my mouth. So it's like this bent tube, and if you think about your lips, your teeth, your tongue, all the muscles and stuff in your throat, that all gives the sound its quality. And we can change how we shape that vocal tract, which then changes how we sound, the quality of the sound. Like if I'm going to make a smiley, sounds really different than a really sort of yawny, oh, even though those are the exact same frequency, the exact same pitch. So, why does all this matter? Well, for one thing, when we think about voice and gender, we're often told in our culture that low voices are masculine, high voices are feminine, right? Voice, and particularly singing, is really tied to this idea of the gender binary, that women must be feminine, must sing high, men must be masculine, sing low if they sing at all, because singing is a little suspect when we think about masculinity, and that, everybody else, who knows? We don't really acknowledge the existence of everybody else most of the time in sort of mainstream voice stuff, although it's changing. But in reality, everybody can make high sounds, everybody can make low sounds. The vocal cords themselves are not gendered. You can make whatever kind of sound you want to make. It means nothing about your gender. And also, however high or low or middle your voice is, that doesn't mean you are therefore XYZ gender. It just means, hey, you've got a voice that fits in a certain range, but your gender identity is however you feel about your gender on the inside. For example, I'm a transgender man. I sang high classical soprano when I was young, and I felt really connected to my voice. That was a really important outlet for me musically, but I didn't like how it made people read me. That people thought I was a feminine girl because I had this high classical soprano voice. And as my voice changed, as I took testosterone and transitioned, how people read me in terms of my voice became more aligned with how I identified as a man. But I still really love singing high just as much as I love singing low. That doesn't make me any less of a man to sing up high. So, encourage you to remember that voice doesn't have anything to do with gender actually, and that's also really powerful, that we can be whoever we want to be in terms of gender and in terms of voice in this world. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I'm going to teach you a song now that we can sing together. It's Call and Response. It's by Sarah Nutting of Ma Muse. Walk your walk, sing your song. It's your life, you belong. We are here, we are free. Don't you worry, just be what you're gonna be. Walk your walk, sing your song. It's your life, you belong. We are here, we are free. Don't you worry, just be what you're gonna be. I love that song. I'm going to sing one more song, and this one, the chorus, I think you'll figure out you can sing with me. I wrote this about the first time that I met my now husband. And it goes like this. I spent a lot of years drifting from bed to bed, but I didn't enjoy it. Thought I was wild and free, but I was truly sad, and I tried to ignore it. I've never felt this way before about anyone. Now I just keep on feeling more. Hey, how I love the way, I love the way I love you. Hey, how I love the way I love you. Hey, how I love the way I love the way I love you. Hey, how I love the way I love you. Pulled you out on my roof. I had no plans to ask you to stay, but something moved me. That night you held me close. I felt so right against your chest. I let it wash through me. I'd never felt that way before about anyone. Now I just keep on feeling more. Hey, how I love the way, I love the way I love you. Hey, how I love the way I love you. Hey, how I love the way, I love the way I love you. Hey, how I love the way I love you. You're not my ball and chain, you are my rock, you are my rope. I wanna stay with you for always till we're both so old. Hey, how I love the way, I love the way I love you. Hey, how I love the way I love you. Hey, how I love the way, I love the way I love you. Hey, how I love the way I love you. Thanks for joining me today, y'all. If you would like to hear more of my music or work with me, I teach singing and songwriting classes for queer and trans folks and allies online this summer, eventually in person again, hopefully someday soon. You can check out my website, eliconley.com. I would love to connect with you. Happy Pride. Have a wonderful June. And thanks so much to the Exploratorium for having me.
If you'd like to hear more from Eli or learn more about his teaching, you can find lots of info on his website, eliconley.com. Eli helped us open up our voice. Next up, we'll move our body with Jocquese, Sir Jacques Whitfield. Sir Jacques is a dancer, choreographer, and MC born and raised in San Francisco. He's a first Vogue instructor of San Francisco and has been teaching his Vogue and Tone classes since 2010. Starting his career steeped in improvisation of freestyle hip hop, Jocquese has added modern, classical, and diasporic dance traditions over the last several years. Jocquese is in conversation with me in this segment, and our conversation covers the history of voguing, how he first began voguing, and the rich Vogue community. And Jocquese was gracious enough to give us a demo. I know I had a lot of fun getting up and moving, and I hope you do too. Before we go to the conversation, we'd like to share a short film profiling Jocquese called Welcome to the House of Love, Voguing in San Francisco. This piece is part of KQED's fantastic series, If Cities Could Dance. I encourage you to check out more from the series on the KQED website. I want to thank KQED for letting us include the piece in this program.
San Francisco is dramatic because the rent is increasing, but it's soft because we're still sitting here unbothered. My name is Jocquese Whitfield, aka Sir Jock, with a Q, not a C. Hi, we're here. Let's be severe. I was born here. Both my mom and my dad, they're both SF natives as well. I think about my junior year in high school, I was just finding myself and trying to figure out who I was individually outside of the hip hop dance troupe world. I would go to the little dance parties, and that's where I saw my first Vogue ball. And I was like, holy, this is amazing. There's people that look just like me, that's living their full truth. Vogue actually, it was that push that I needed to come out, and it shaped me to be the person who I am today. We live in a society where we place gender on everything, and that it just taught me to what is gender is canceled. That's what it is.
Vogue is to live your fantasy, your truth. And for me, I'm very much a hip hop tomboy house dancer, and I love to Vogue, and I find my femininity in my Vogue, but I also like to throw my other stuff in there.
We all come as one. I mean, we all help each other. We all teach each other how to Vogue. We all work together as a family.
That's what it's all about, and I think I want to create a whole house in San Francisco where we just all come together and love each other, and so we can exude that out within our city.
Now slay the floor.
My class, I wanted to create a safe space for everyone, but I was like, I want to bring something different. I'm a queer man of color. That's what I need to be giving back. Vogue is life. I sleep, eat, dream, Vogue. And I'm just trying to share that with everybody else so they can be their own fierceness. It's okay to be fierce. It's okay to be fabulous. It's okay to feel amazing about yourself.
I'm so moist that I make it downpour. And the girls get moist. And I feel my wrath. And the girls get frost. Bite. Get. I'm so moist that I make it downpour.
I understand that voguing is a dance form that emerged from Black and Latinx queer communities. Could you tell us a little bit about what you know about the history of voguing, where and when it emerged, and also when you first encountered it?
Yeah, so Vogue was started in Harlem, New York. That is the birthplace of Vogue. Um, but we're gonna like rewind in history. So back in like the 1920s, um I always say my ancestors of the LGBTQ plus community, they used to have like underground speakeasy parties, and back then that's when they were giving very showgirl Las Vegas like performance, and back then it was just called performance. It wasn't even called Vogue back then. That was like around like 1920s, 1930s, and it was like these secret clubs that they used to have, and you had drag performance, you had trans visibility, queerness, and it was of black and brown identities, and they used to have like these amazing parties back then. But then when you fast forward to like the late 60s, there used to be a lot of like drag competitions, and a lot of drag performers would compete in these competitions, but majority of them were like white queens, and the black queens, the Latin queens that were competing, they was never getting their tens across the boards, as we say in ballroom, at these drag competitions. So Crystal LaBeija had enough and stormed off, and she created the ballroom scene for people that looked like her, black and brown visibility, then created their their own safe space because they were not being recognized or treated fairly in you know, in the white dominated queer spaces. So, Crystal LaBeija is the pioneer of ballroom. So that's like the late 60s. There's a really good documentary called Queen. It's on Netflix and you should watch it. It's amazing. Everyone should watch it, especially Crystal LaBeija. She's amazing. And she's the reason why we have ballroom. So then fast forward to the 80s, that Vogue is just one of the categories in ballroom, and is one of the most popular categories in ballroom. And you had old way Vogue, and most of the Voguers were down at the piers in New York, uh, voguing and competing against each other, as well as being sex workers or runaway youth that got kicked out because they were who they were. Um, so ballroom, but Vogue specifically started in Harlem, New York, and yeah, that's the birthplace. Um, what was the second question? I'm sorry.
When did you first encounter Vogue?
Um, when I was in high school, I was about, I want to say about 15, 16 years old. Um, I went to my first ball. Um, told my mom, I was like, Mom, I'm going to like a school dance situation. And I was like, yeah, it goes late, but we're gonna go. I'm going with my best friend at that time. And I was in awe. Like, honestly, just seeing people who looked like me. At that time, I wasn't out. Um, I was still trying to figure myself out, like any 15, 16-year-old. And I was also in a hip hop dance troupe. So I was always drawn to dance and all different forms of dance. I love dance. So when I was not in like doing like some of the hip hop pieces and we were just like on the sidelines learning other dance styles, I would like teach myself how to vogue. And I'm aging myself, but around that time, I used to watch YouTube, and this is like when YouTube just started. And so I would like watch clips from Ballroom Throwbacks. That's the name of like that station on YouTube. And all the Voguers were like just I would watch like clips, and this is when they were extracting clips from DVDs and putting them online. So I'm really aging myself here. But with that being said, that was a fierce time. Um, back then. But then like I used to watch like all the dance competition, especially America's Best Dance Crew. And if you remember, there was Vogue Evolution, and it was a Vogue crew on that. And I was like, this is what I want to see. And so, me going to my first ball, it was amazing just seeing black and brown bodies. That was just liberating. Who they were. They were just, it was liberation, it was love, there was drama. I mean, there's always drama at the ball. That makes it fun and hot. But like it was something new for me that I've never seen. And I just felt comfortable. And I could be myself like in that setting. So I was about 15, 16, and right then and there I knew this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Like I just knew. Like I knew I was gonna be a dancer, like that was just already in the process, in the thought process. I was like, no 9 to 5 for me. I'm gonna be an artist, and that's on period. I know it's gonna be a struggle, but I'm gonna be an artist, and this is what I want to do. And I'm so glad I stuck with that. Like going to my first ball to now throwing balls and being a part of different balls. Um, it's a beautiful thing, and it's something that just always wanted to do. I always say like Vogue allowed me to come out and be my authentic self. And I think that's what I like portray in my class is like I can't teach you how to be fierce and fabulous. I can just give you the tools to tap into it, and I can teach you the history and the elements of Vogue, but it has to come from within, and that's self-love and self-determination and just knowing your self-worth. I can't teach you that. You got to tap into that yourselves. But here's a little push, you know. So that's what Vogue did to me, and I just feel like it behooves me to just pass that along to other people who take my class. And I just apply that to everyday life. I always say Vogue is a lifestyle. It's not just a dance. It's a
Mhm.
lifestyle. And it just taught me to be fabulous. It taught me to love my imperfections. It taught me to know my truth, speak my truth. It taught me to be fierce when I wake up out of the bed and I walk out to the hallway. That's a runway. You know, I might be looking crusty because I just woke up. However, I still feel fierce because I woke up today and I have another day to slay. So that's what Vogue done for me, and that's how I experienced it. From when I was 15, 16, and like I always like talk about that story.
So you have said that Vogue is more than dance, right? It's a lifestyle and a culture. Do you think you could talk a little bit about how the voguing culture in San Francisco has built you as a person, how you have helped build that scene, and how this culture has changed over time?
To be completely honest, like as a San Francisco native, born and raised, still here, holding on. While it's changing, the first experience I had going attending a ball was actually in Oakland. So I wouldn't say that like in Oakland, like that's where I saw ballroom. That's where I experienced ballroom. And the culture at that time was live and thriving. And of course, it was like, you know, like you have your wars, like you know, the different boroughs of New York, like which wasn't is better? Is it Manhattan? Is it Brooklyn? Is it the boogie down Bronx? You know, Queens, you know, it was just like that over here. Like we had Oakland, you had San Francisco. So it was kind of like who was better. But like honestly, I'm gonna give it tens across the board to Oakland because I give snaps and dues where snaps and dues are needed to be gave. I was in Oakland for me, where I experienced it. So it was a mutual respect where I sat back and because that was not my city, my scene at that time. But like there was a small scene in San Francisco. I wasn't a part of that scene, to be completely honest. Like I said, I started as a dancer. I was a freestyle dancer, and I was in all these dance troupes, and like meeting other dancers who were queer like me and performing in the Castro. That's how I saw like Vogue elements, but like seeing full on ballroom and Vogue and that community was at this youth program called Smack, in downtown Oakland. I'm not sure if that organization is still alive and thriving, but it was an amazing youth program, and they used to have like all these like little dance parties for like teenagers, and that's where I saw ballroom. And then just like sneaking into clubs back then. The kids will never know these days, but sneaking into clubs and like seeing older, like I wouldn't say older, I just like full of wisdom, but like the queens that were like older than me, I learned from some drag queens going to the club. But they were based in Oakland, but they would come out to San Francisco when the Castro was popping and live and full of color and inclusion. But I don't know what's going on with the Castro now, but that's a whole different story. But um that was the scene. It was mostly in Oakland. And from what I remember, and then fast forward to 2010, as a dancer, I was like, there's all these hip hop classes, hip hop jazz, hip hop in pumps, hip hop contemporary fusion, hip hop this. And I'm just like, you know what? Let me do something different from what everyone else was doing. And yeah, I was teaching hip hop, but then that's when I started Vogue and Tone in 2010. And at Dance Mission Theater, that's my home, and also ODC a year later. But in 2010, I started my Vogue and Tone class to preserve the history of Vogue, because there was a scene out here in the Bay, but it kind of thizzled out or thinned out because everyone either moved to New York, Atlanta, LA. So not to toot my own horn in that sense, but I kind of revamped the scene of Vogue in San Francisco, at least. And just been doing my thing, like teaching classes and creating safe spaces for people to just live and be their authentic selves. And also teaching the elements of Vogue. And so like since 2010, like I just been teaching, grinding, hustling, trying to get my Vogue and Tone class out to any and everywhere that would allow me to do so. And I also wanted to keep it true to myself, as me being an MC and a host at nightclubs. I always would put the two together, because Vogue is an underground club style dance anyway. So I would just Vogue in the clubs, and like promoters and drag queens would see me and be like, we want you to perform at our shows, and we want you to host this, and da 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 da. It was just building connections through movement and through the art of Vogue. And I was like the only Vogue instructor, the first Vogue instructor of San Francisco. And people would like come take class, and I was like, my class is open to any and everyone who wants to learn Vogue and not imitate it in a way where you look like you're doing the Macarena double time, and that's not what it is. Don't be doing this. This is not voguing. That's not voguing. But also just teaching the history, letting them know that Madonna did not create Vogue. She actually capitalized on it. She used to like sneak into the gay clubs and sit and watch the girls Vogue the house down, and was like, "Ooh, I want to do that."
Mhm.
So, and teaching the people that it's not called a death drop, it's called a dip. Do not let RuPaul and the queens teach y'all anything different. It's not called a death drop, it is called a dip. But we'll go over that when we do that, our elements. So I just wanted to create that, like, this is what I envisioned. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to stay true to the art form. I want to stay true to the history. And as a queer person of color, I just want to pay homage to the pioneers that paved the way for me to do what I'm doing right now. And that has led me to doing things that I never thought I would do in my wildest dreams. As far as like dancing for different celebrities, or working with different museums, or even teaching at colleges, because I didn't think that would happen. Like me teaching a Vogue at Stanford, I'm gagged. Like I'm doing something at the Berkeley Art Museum and working with UC Berkeley. Okay, like never thought that would happen. And I'm just thankful that like people are starting to realize what Vogue is and really doing the work and watching Paris is Burning, watching Pose, watching Kiki, which is a really good documentary on Hulu or Amazon, Kiki, Kiki, or How Do I Look, which is like the sequel to Paris is Burning, because they do a whole segment with Willie Ninja, the godfather of Vogue. May they slay in peace. And just watching and then watching Legendary right now, which is showing ballroom and this in a broader like space, which I think is amazing. And everyone is getting into the Vogue culture now, and I mean, but it's like they've been in it. It's been here. Now people are just tapping into it, and like I think I was just on to something like before everyone started jumping on the bandwagon. And I'm just grateful that I have a space where people can learn, people can connect with each other, and people can find themselves. Like, and I think we're all just trying to find ourselves and be our authentic selves. And sometimes that might be a struggle for a lot of people. So I just say, come slay with me and leave it all on the floor, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, I can keep going. But no,
Yes.
I really love the art form of Vogue. I love the culture of Vogue, and just ballroom in general. And it's just beautiful. And I think it's something that I hold on to, like, because we just need to hold on to for our history, and so it won't get watered down and all that jazz. So, I hope that the ancestors are proud of what I'm doing. And I always just lead with love, empathy, and compassion. And I think that's what Vogue taught me, is to lead with love, lead with compassion and empathy, and just know that you're fierce. Period.
Yes. I love that. I love that so much. Well, you kind of already answered a few more questions that I had. You definitely talked about how Vogue has supported your self-expression, how it can support self-expression for other folks. And you did talk about your other forms of movement that you do have similar connections to, such as like freestyle dancing and hip hop. Would you want to go a little bit more in depth on that, or how you feel?
Yeah, like I hip hop is in my body. True T, I used to turf dance back in the day. And if y'all don't know about turf, that started in the Bay. And but I used to do it all. Like I went to school, I did ballet, I did jazz. I love Afro Haitian. One of another mm, favorite form of dance. I love. And honestly, my theory is you can vogue to anything, because there's specific music for voguing, obviously. But as a dancer, I'm like, I could vogue to anything. You can play a country song and I can still vogue the house boots down, honey. I'll give you a two-step and a dip, honey. But yeah, I've done ballet, jazz, Afro Haitian, um, even taiko drumming. Like I like movement. I like to just express myself through movement and music. And I just think that's just universal. Like that's how we talk to everyone. You can talk to people through dance and movement and even music. But yeah, I Vogue is a freestyling dance, and I, as just a trained dancer, I've learned to like create choreography with Vogue, but I like to incorporate all genres with it. So we might, like for an example, during Black History Month, we was giving Afro Haitian mixed with Vogue, and we was giving Africana Vogue. That's what I was calling it. I was like, we're doing Africana Vogue, tap into the motherland, tap into the spirits, tap
Yeah.
into it all. Okay, but like I like to just incorporate different genres. Um, to the elements of Vogue. And speaking of the elements, there's 5 elements of Vogue. You have hand performance, which we'll be breaking down. Catwalk, another one we'll be breaking down. Then you have duck walk. That might be a maybe because people knees might be hurting. And then you have spin/dips. We won't be doing that one. And floor performance. And those are the 5 elements of Vogue. So once you master those 5 elements, then you can incorporate other genres to just spice up your performance pretty much. So like if you're a ballet dancer and you want to dance on point while you're giving a hand performance, there you go. Like, but you still want to vogue mainly, but add little umphs and sprinkles of seasonings, as I like to say, to
I
your
love that.
performance. Because no one wants just pepper and salt. No, we need paprika. We need the crushed ginger. We need, the rosemaries, the seasoned salt, the crushed black pepper and the Himalayan salt. All I'm saying is we need the ooh la la sensation for the broth, and that's what we need. We just don't need pepper and salt. No, we need all the spices. So you can add like little quirks and little things in your Vogue, and that's why I like to incorporate other genres because I was a freestyler at heart anyway. So that's
Yes.
why I also fell in love with Vogue because it's a freestyle form dance. So yeah,
Mhm.
I like to incorporate
Beautiful.
it all.
That's beautiful. I'm also a freestyle dancer, so whenever you talk about that, it just warms my heart because that's something that is very dear to me that I've done since I was a kid. All right. Well, thank you so much for giving such an in-depth perspective on Vogue and your experience with Vogue. I think we're ready to get a small taste of that pepper, that salt, that Himalayan salt, that cracked
Yes,
pepper.
and a little paprika and a parsley
Yes.
paste, honey.
Yes.
Yes. We're gonna go on a couple of movements because I just can't be just throwing that stuff at you like, boom, do this, you know? So actually, I'm actually gonna sit down first. We're gonna start with our hands, the first element. And so the hands, there's different variations of hands. And I'm gonna go over the basics just because there's like elements within that element because you have like circles, right? And then you have figure eights, and then you have emote where you like really feel it from the spirit, and then you have like all these different side to sides, front to front, up to up, but we're gonna do the basics. So actually let me
Okay.
scoot this back so y'all can like see the slayage a little bit. Ow. Okay, so our hands, so like what I like to do is you want to keep your hands locked, right? And you're framing the face. And I always say flare your hands and keep your wrists as fluid as possible, or because we're gonna need that mobility to like you're really gonna be like flexing the wrist, right? So you should feel it all through the arm, right?
Okay.
So we're just framing our face and we're just gonna go side to side. So I like to use my index finger to place it under my elbow, and it's like you're here, right? And you're just gonna just go side to side, boom, and we're just doing the same thing. So tap, 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 right?
Ah, that's hard.
So we're just gonna go side to side. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Bop, 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 bop. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So that's just side to sides, right? So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and 8. So you really want to be like strong with the arms. And I always say we're not giving T-Rex realness, we're here. Boom. And
We're
then you just want
here.
to like place it like and just let it flow. Bop, 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 tap, tap. So that's just like our side to sides, right? So going forward, because you know how I said people talk about, oh, I know how to vote because they watch the Macarena. No, we're not doing that. There's details to this. So when you go forward, right? So our hands are here, right? You want to go. I like to bend the wrist and extend the arm all the way out, right? Boom. And it's like you hit it, and then the other one is on the shoulder with the forearm facing forward, right? So that's one. And then when you bring the right arm back, you just bringing it back, bop. But you want to turn the left out. Yes. So bop, 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 ah. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and 8. Work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Work. So we're gonna go side to side, 8 count, and then forward, 8 count, right? So
Okay.
5, 6, 7, and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7. Bring it out. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7, 8. Boom. Okay, all right. Come on. You got this. So,
Arms.
yeah, so you should be feeling it in the shoulders, all in the forearms. I always say in class, think of your arm and the hands as like a paintbrush. So the from the shoulder all the way to the wrist, that's the handle, and your hand is the brush. So like the fingertips is like the last thing to like catch that movement, right? So you just want to be as graceful as that. These are the analogies I try to give in class. Like think of your arm as a paintbrush and the fingers are the brush. So like it I always come up with these like weird analogies, but it makes sense to me. So when you do your catwalk, right? You want to sit into it. So you want to keep your legs parallel. I always say think of wearing like a pencil skirt. And you want to keep your legs parallel, right? But we're going to be on the balls of our feet. You're going to be on the balls of your feet. And it's all about isolating the hips. So you want to sit into it like you're sitting in the chair because we're going to be leading with the hips. So you just want to like get used to just isolating the hips. So tick left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Boom, right? So when we tick left, step with your left foot. So you just want, and you want to keep the feet going down, 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 down. Now you should feel it all in your thighs. If you feel it in your thighs, that means you do
It's
it.
working. Yeah.
It's working. So you're gonna isolate the hip. You're gonna go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. So torso up, you want to keep forward. Torso down is where you do your ticks. So when you do your ticks, you're going to lead with the hip. Left. Yes. Then switch. Right. Then left. Then right. Then left. Then right. So now we're going to add our hands with this. And we're going to start with our left hand. So you're going to go left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Then out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this is just the basics. So we just did hand performance mixed with catwalk, right?
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Like I tell people in class, voguing is pretty until you have to do it. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. Just like any dance form, it takes a lot, you know? So what we're gonna do now, if you don't have a lot of space, and for those who are watching later on, if you want to stay in place, you can still left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and you want to tick, 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 tick. Check it out. All right, you ready? 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, and left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Then 1 and a 2, 3 and a 4, 5 and a 6 and a 7 and 8. Okay. One more. We're gonna do one more thing. Now this is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt. We're gonna do a duck walk.
Oh my.
Yeah. So our duck walk consists of us in catwalk position, but you're gonna be here. You're low, right?
Oh.
And you want to keep your balance, your center, but you're on the balls of your feet, right? So you're just gonna. Ooh, I haven't done this in a second. Hold on. Let me get used to it real quick. Okay, so you're gonna go. So you're gonna step right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
Oh my God. Right,
See?
left. Okay.
You got this.
Oh,
So if you want to use, so if you're on the, so I see you by the wall. If you want to use the wall to like guide you, like if this is how I like to teach it, use that as a guide. And you don't want to lean forward and you don't want to lean far back. You want to really center your weight so you can just bounce on your feet, and you're literally lifting up right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot.
okay.
Yes. So you ready?
I'm
5,
ready.
6, 5, 6, 7, and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7 and an 8. Ow! Work. Now you want to bring it up. You can bring it up. Now you can take a break. Take a little sit down because my legs are burning too. That was just like we just did like hands, catwalk, duck walk. Obviously, there's spins and dips, which I like to teach in person and break that down. And floor performance, you're literally on the floor doing different freestyle movements on the floor. But those are just like the little basics. We just did the hand performance, catwalk, duck walk. However, I like to break those down in class, obviously. But when I teach it, as we just did now, I just like to teach like the little basics and then tell people to come take class.
Thank you so much for doing this, talking about Vogue, bringing it to light. I think you're the perfect person for this interview as well, too. That was really beautiful.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
I learned so much.